All right, so a little update. Took the crash bar off the front here. Went ahead and mocked up the intercooler. I've got to build the brackets to come up and mount it to the crash bar mount. But still working on this driver's side charge pipe. Got to come off and do like a 90 or down in a 45. I got to figure that out, but I got to order a 45 and a 90. And then this side I'm gonna order a 45 for, and hopefully come off and tee right into that. I've got some degas fittings coming from a guy I've done some harness for. He's been real helpful. I'm sending him my stock ones, and we're gonna put the degas ones in here since I've got the radiator cap going there. I went ahead and got the front spindles on. Control arms loosely, it's all loose, but it's all together. Both sides on that. Turbo's still not bolted down all the way because I'm pulling out test fitting and stuff. Still have the drain line to build, which is just like 1.5 feet of hose, so I'm not really too concerned about it. Got a big parts list of stuff to order. It's a bunch of little tedious stuff. So that's that on this. And I spent most of my morning kind of just picking up some. Just a lot of stuff here. That's the engine out of this car. A buddy of mine bought it. We're going to keep it here for a project if he ever decides to use it for anything. And then you got the LSA car. And hopefully once this car's done, I can start piddling with this some more. I got some parts for motion and some Deechworks fuel rails. So, yep, Max truck here. Yeah, getting there. Each day I work here, it's more and more. Just wish I had an infinite amount of time to put to this to get it done. But for the most part, making progress. Still don't know exactly when I'll be done. Waiting on some fittings for the relocation kit so I can do the oil lines. But man, under the hood, it's getting close. Once I finish from the firewall forward, then I'm going to work on the trans back, which is the fuel system, and then do the wiring. Wiring is not going to be long. It's just a couple connectors and mounted everything, route it, and then power ground, key on positive, and she's ready to roll. So I'll keep trucking along like I am, and she'll be done eventually. So can't wait to hear it scream. Y'all have a good one. So I got the catch can system done. I ordered the Motion Raceworks kit, and it just comes standard with these 2 90s and 2 straights. But to use the other straight, I'd had to run this line across the front of the engine, and I really didn't want to. I didn't want to clutter it up because it'd have to go under or over, which means it had a bend in it, and have to swoop around and go over the turbo. I was like, you know what, I want to do it this way. So I ordered a 180-degree fitting, same brand. I got it from MMR, and I went ahead and just routed it around the back side over to that 90-degree fitting. And then center punched the bracket into here where I get it where the top of the filter was kind of level, and then drilled the hole up here in the strut tower and put a bolt and nut, bolted it on there. Easy to remove if you need to drain it. Still got the drain there, so probably put your little cup underneath there and drain it ever so often. But anyhow, there it is there. You still, you know, get to the old filter pretty easily. But just love the transition of it. A lot better than it coming across the front of the motor. But got that done. I got this new fitting on for the overflow tank. I ordered a brass one, and then I got thinking, man, that brass would stick out like a sore thumb. So I found one that was anodized black. It's aluminum. I got a cap, which is a AC Delco cap, good cap. It's got a little sticker on it, which helps kind of set it in. It's not like polished on top. Also got this cooling hose made. Have a buddy weld this up, and this goes to the thermostat housing, then goes down to the bottom of the radiator. It's a 1.75 or 1.75 and a 1.5 inch. So it reduces down. It has to, because the radiator is 1.75 inches and the outlet up here on the thermostat is 1.5 inches. So got that done. I got the feed line fitting and the block. So there's that. I got routed up behind the, let's see if I can get an angle here. So it comes down, loops around, goes around the back side there of the K-member behind the motor mount. I'm gonna get a hose that's a little bit bigger than the this braided line, and put it right there where it goes back so this doesn't rub and chafe over time. So I'm gonna do that. Starting to come along. I think my only scare right now is this charge pipe that's supposed to come through here off the turbo. I've got a buddy that's gonna come over and kind of help me figure that out. It's my only scare, really. Everything else is getting pretty close. I did go ahead and check the drive shaft fitment, because I was worried that when I positioned the motor back on the K-member that it wouldn't fit, and it does fit perfectly. So, man, it's looking good. It's taking a lot of time, but man, it's sharp. It's a sharp car. I'm gonna get some brackets tomorrow to go ahead and bolt the intercooler in, and hopefully get this front tied up soon. I was hoping to have it today, but stuff like this over here takes time, and figuring this out, and then just making sure everything works properly. Just real time consuming, but it'll be worth it in the end. So we're getting there. All right, so a little update. Got the upper hose done with the degas delete, which is the fittings from Power by the Hour that delete the degas line. So I put an inline radiator cap, and then I've got the lower hose built. I'm gonna have the guy that's gonna do the exhaust weld this pipe up, so it'll go around the turbo. I still got to get the charge pipe done on both sides. It's gonna require some welding, fabricating, which I can't do here because I don't want to use a bunch of couplers everywhere. So I'm gonna have these two, that connected to the intercooler with a pipe. I've got it about as far as I want to go, and then I'll have a transition made to go up to there. Same with this charge pipe. When it comes down to there, it's going to just S up. Got the oil lines done. The feed done. It's looking good under here. Really clean. Put the wastegates on, and then I need to secure this line somewhere. Keep it kind of elevated. Man, there's just not much there other than that, what I said. Of course, got the motion race work kit done. Beautiful. I think I did a fantastic job here. Toot my own horn, but I think I did. I've got to swap out the connectors for these cools. This harness is like a rev change they did at one time. So like, it's a different connector, which I've got new connectors now with new pins, and I gotta I'm gonna de-pin these, cut them as far as I can down at the crimp, and re-crimp them with the new connector. That's something on the agenda. I've got to put some stock injectors in for the startup. And basically my goal today, though, is to install the wiring harness. I'm gonna try to feed the main PCM harness through this grommet here up to the PCM, and I'm gonna try to mount the fuse box and the glove box. Some guys have been mounting the fuse box up here in this fender area, but I'd really like to not have to pull the fender well if it ever blows a fuse or anything like that. Like to be pretty accessible. So I'm gonna try to put it in that grommet there and mount the box and tuck all the wiring today, and possibly get to doing the battery relocation in the back as well, and run the power wire to this box here. It's a hot day today. My car's broke down. This is for another swap, of course. But anyhow, I'm gonna get to it and sweat my butt off. I'll post some stuff as I go along. Alright, so I'm gonna give you an update. So I went ahead and drilled a hole here. It's a 2 1/4 inch hole to accept the connector that goes to the PCM and to bring all this wiring out. So I was able to take the back shell off, which I'll put back on, and that allowed me to fold the connector to get the wires and all through there. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody do this. I didn't do it on my car. I went through this grommet, but man, when I went through this car, I was like, man, how did I do that? And even then, it's such a tight space here. The fuse box would have been behind the glove box, and I was like kind of okay with that, but did not want it at all. And I was like, you know what, it'd be cool if I could put it where it's about unnoticeable, like where it kind of blends in. So I got in here. Let's see if I can get a light on here. Yeah. So there it is now. And it's not mounted. It's kind of just holding itself there. But I'll make something to keep it stable. And I'll tuck this wire back of here when it's all said and done. But when you're in the car, you're sitting down, you'll never even see it really. Unless you're hunkered down, you can kind of see it. But if you're in the car, sitting down, you don't even see it. Your feet don't even touch it. Honestly, that's like the perfect spot for it. So, yeah, I like that. And I got the other wires ran across right now. I have to extend the throttle pedal connector, but that's about it really on that. I'm pretty excited. So I'm gonna finish cleaning up this mess and getting everything ran. I'm gonna have to fold it up some because a lot of this is just too long, not needed. All the length, because the mass airflow is going to be right in here, and then the alternator connector's there. So I only need like 1.5 feet, 2 foot of wiring coming off the split here to there. And you can see I probably got a good 6 foot. So I'm gonna have to do some folding up, and I'll probably just loop it back up across the top there and tuck it. But yeah, successful on here. I just got to clean that grommet up some, but that grommet will protect it, and I'll probably put some seam sealer around it as extra protection. But I was kind of nervous to do that, but honestly that was my best route. And then honestly, it'll tuck behind the inner fender as well. So once this folds down, and I might put a clamp there or something to hold it back, but all this will tuck behind the inner fender. It's like you can see on like my other car. You know, it tucks back there pretty far. So we should be good. But I'm going to keep trucking, get all this finalized and done. And then make the ground for that guy. And I got to start on the battery next and run the power cables to the starter. And a power cable to the control pack fuse box that's in the car now. So I'm going to keep trucking away. Alright, so I'm back at it again. Just want to show you guys what I do here. So this is the original battery harness for the 4.6, and I just cut off the battery posts and I put an eye here for ground. This one goes all the way down to the block at the factory motor mount, just like the factory harness does. I wonder if I can show you. Let's see. Yeah, right there on that stud. So that's just a factory harness. So yeah, I put an eye here. Then also cut it all the way up to post here where it splits. There's usually like a split here. And I cut it right at the split. And I put another eye, and this is going to go right here on the fuse box. And then it'll power the fuse box. Well, this wire goes all the way to the starter. So, come over here. So there's the starter wire. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add one more wire here. This is going to come from the battery. So from the battery all the way to here is my power to my starter, and also then it jumps off the starter, goes up to the fuse box, and that'll be the power for the car itself. So just from back to front, and it'll power everything. And it's just that simple. And then also on the starting harness is right here is the starter signal trigger wire. It's plugged up like factory. So it'll just, let's see, you can actually see it right there. Here it is. So basically when I hook these two power and grounds up and then hook the battery up to the starter of the wire there and then send power, it'll just crank off the factory switch. I ain't gotta do nothing special at all. Just like bolt this up and boom, it'll crank. So what I'm gonna do now is install this, ground this, and then this portion's done, and then I'm gonna move back to the battery and start doing it as well. I've got the holes drilled back there. I just gotta make the hole for the wire. So I'll probably go ahead and do the wire and run it back and then start prepping it for the battery itself. So making some progress. This is the next day. All this petty stuff's hard to film, but I did manage to get this all done yesterday and got it all zip tied up. This yellow wire I've got ran, this is a key volt positive. And when I do the gauges, this pin right here on the top corner is a key on 12 volt constant with key on when cranking. Once you turn the key on and crank, it stays 12 volt. So I want to probably use that as that 12 volt reference off of the harness that's right there. But when I get to that point, I'll definitely update you guys. That's the wire right there. I ran it up here. I've got the harness in the car. I got too much stuff in there right now. I got the harness in the car. I've got to extend the throttle pedal wiring, but that's it. It's all ran on the driver's side now, so it's getting close. So I'm gonna keep trucking away here and hopefully just make some more progress today. It is hot today. So this right here, that is the sweat from my arm and then from my belly and my face. So it's hot today, but anyhow, I've got the ground and power wire done from the original starting harness. So I kept these original tabs here and I made sure not to destroy them. And I put this harness back in its factory location, just taped them back on the wiring. And I got this stuff. This ground used to be up here, but I put it down here with this other ground. This is the main ground to the block that follows through. Of course, goes down to the block. Then this one's bolted to there. It's nice and tight now. So move out of the way. And so now I can just put this back on. This will cover up that stud there. So there's the factory starting harness modified for a battery relocation. So I just cleaned it up some, re-terminated these ends, and boy does that just flow nicely through there. So we got enough room here for a little filter, turbo guard, whatever. This is going to stay open. I don't plan on putting anything else here. This is going to be, I'm going to build a bracket that comes off from here to hold that, because I mean it don't have much pressure, so it don't need much to really hold it in place. But now I'm gonna get back to what I was doing, or what I was gonna do next is the battery harness from the battery to the starter, and then that'll send power up to here. So I might have power in the car here in a little bit, which will be awesome. So I just wanted to show you guys that. That is just awesome to see. A lot cleaner than how I done my car. And there's mine. And once I'm done with this car, I'm gonna take everything I learned from this car and put it to this car. So I'm gonna make this one a lot cleaner than what it is now. So I'm digging it. All right, so I've got the power cable installed. I reused the clips here and put them in the factory location. So this is as if there was a battery here. This is exactly how it would have been factory. Grounded. That's done. I've got the power wire going to the starter, which then the starter feeds the fuse box. So this will be hot at all times. I'm going to put some rubber hose over this to keep it from rubbing on anything. And I've got it ran down to the car. I'm going to go through and cut all the cable ties. And then I come up through the floor in the back with the grommet there. That's a factory grommet. I just come up through it, drilled a hole through it. And then the same thing with the ground. And then I grounded it to the rear. Let's see if we can see it here. Right in there. And it just goes through the frame rail. I didn't have to drill any holes. Those are holes that are already existing. And everything's still long. I'm not cutting it to length yet till I get the tray finished, but right now I can put power to the car, but the battery's weak. The light will come on, but anytime I try to turn any physical lights on, it'll kill the battery. But I got that done today. I got the wastegates mounted with the 3-pound springs in them. So that's knocked out. Almost done for the day. I need to, I'm gonna finish doing the power tomorrow in the back. Then I'm gonna power the fuel pump up, get all the fuel out because it's got a full tank of gas, and then I'm gonna start the fuel system. So that's the next on the list. Hopefully get that knocked out tomorrow. And if I get that knocked out, I can put some injectors in, put some oil in the motor, hook a power up to the control pack's computer, and I gotta also rewire these coils because somewhere down the line they switch connectors and these do not match. But I've got the new connectors and I've just got to recrimp them and be done. So we're getting close to being able to fire it up. So there's the update for the end of the day. Alright, so what a day it's been. I had to pump all this fuel out, drop the tank. The line gave me a small issue, but I overcame it. Normally I can pop them right off and be done, but it took a little bit more time than normal, but nothing crazy. But I had to bust the carriage out of there that houses the factory tank, which this one had been modified. Somebody drilled it out, and I'm assuming there's a bigger pump in there. I haven't pulled it out to check, but they drilled the bottom out, I guess, for more flow. Pretty cool little hack. This car was a Vortec car, so it makes sense. But I had to bust all those pieces out, flush the tank out, and then I smacked this down flush to make sure I didn't have nothing interfere with this new pump. We opted out of doing the Cobra tank just because, I mean, not gonna see any road racing or anything like that. And plus, most of the time it's gonna be on full. This guy keeps his car topped off as I keep mine. If I go to the track, even I'm gonna have a full tank. I'm never gonna keep less than a quarter in it. It's always full. But anyhow, so I got the pump assembly done. It's looking mint. Luckily, this bracket that holds the sender, I didn't get one. It didn't come with one, but I've bought this kit before, and I think when I bought it, it come with two because I had the Cobra tank in my car, so I used the Cobra bracket because they're different. So I found this one in that box of stash I had and was able to mount the sender. So that's done. What I'm gonna do now is maybe secure these a little bit. I don't know. Put the gasket on and then drop it in the tank, and that part should be golden. So I'm gonna keep trucking. So I've been at the shop for maybe 20 minutes today. I built the feed line. I kind of used a block of wood because I had to find some hardware to bolt the bracket to this because it didn't come with any. So I had to find some in the shop. I'm going to mount it right here using a bolt. And then, of course, I'm going to do that. So there's the feed line there coming from the factory line. Mount it right there, and then of course that line will just go there. It goes straight to the adapter on the rail. It's a nice piece. I just finished putting it together. Of course, there's nothing really to it. You just got the Dash 8 adapter over here to the stock Ford line, and you got the Dash 8 adapter to the feed line, and the Dash 6 adapter to the return line. And then of course a little pipe tape and the gauge itself. This is the kit I got from Lethal. Hopefully this gauge lasts because I think on my car this gauge ended up failing. So hopefully this one doesn't, but this is a nice piece. Kind of feel like a pipe fitter after putting this together. Don't quote me on that, I'm just being silly. But anyhow, basically I'm gonna mount this now and then build the return line and run it back to the back of the car. And then I gotta do the battery box hardware real quick, and then I can put the tank back in. And then I need to pull the rail and put some stock injectors in, because I'm going to fire it up on the stock tune, and then whenever it goes to get tuned, we can swap the big boy injectors in. But for now, it's going to have the stock ones in just for startup and move around purposes. So she's getting close. I'm just going to be plugging away today. All right, so last I took off, I was doing the fuel pressure or the regulator stuff. So I got the feed line done, I got the return line done, I've got the regulator mounted. Let's see, you can see the line there, it goes down and follows the top of the brake lines, and it's tucked behind the brake lines and goes up over the pumpkin. Let's see if I can get y'all. There's a lot of cable ties. I gotta go through here and cut these the tips off, but just goes up and over. I got tucked behind some brackets. Tried to make it flow with stuff that's already there, so it kind of, you know, you knew it was in a good spot. And then just goes right there on top of the tank. I get a good light there. Thing light. Right there. So runs all the way down, and I'm gonna secure it here. I'll put a bracket here to hold it in place, and it should be good there. I'm not like 100% happy with it, but you know, I work with what I got, and it looks great how it is. So I got that done. I've got the tank kind of mediocrely back in. I've got to wire up the sending unit wires before I put the tank permanently in. There's the sending unit wires there, and I got the factory connector sitting right here, and I just got to figure out which wires it is real quick and pin it to match these wires here. I've got the battery permanently mounted, the tray. I've got all the wires ran to it that I need. There's my power wire from the, goes straight to the starter. Then here's my power wires to relays for the pumps. I got the grounds. That blue wire there is the trigger wire, which is the only wire I need to do now. I've got to take a wire from there to the green wire for fuel pump off the control pack. It's pretty simple, like just running everything back here. Then once I get the battery in, I'll cut everything to the length I want and terminate these ends. But everything's ran to the battery that's going to go to the battery. I'm also going to install a battery tender. I want to mount it probably on the side here, so that the customer can charge his battery, because the car will sit probably. He doesn't drive everything all the time. But it's hard to film all this little stuff. I'm doing another car after this one, and I'm gonna try to do a little bit better on stuff on it. But this one's I'm just trying to knock it out and get stuff done. It's hard to really just take videos of every little thing, especially when you're the one turning the wrenches all the time. But it's getting close. I'm really loving the way I mounted the regulator. You know, it just flows nicely. Just got some little stuff here and there to do. I think this is it for the day, though. I'll come back and work for a little bit in the morning and try to get the tank permanently back in, and run that one wire and get fuel going through it. But as of now, that's it. It's almost done, though. Well, this thing's near completion. I just finished putting the tank in. I've got all the wires ran except for one wire, which will come off the fuel pump wire from the control pack and go to the blue wire for the relays that's sitting down here. And I got to terminate the ends for the battery. And Everything up front's in. Basically everything that's for the car is now installed. I just put the stock injectors in so we can fire it up on a stock tune. Once it's running, I'm taking it to another guy. He's going to do the finish building the cold side for me, because there's a lot of stuff that's going to have to be fabricated that just standard bends can't do. So I'm going to let him do that. Basically the only limb I got now is this drive shaft. It's a Cobra drive shaft, but I relocated the engine further back, which took length out, and this drive shaft will fit with the car in there, but once I set the car down, I'm pretty sure it's gonna bottom out, because it's already close to bottoming out just when I put it in. It ain't got maybe a 1/4 inch, and once that car settles down, that 1/4 inch is just going to shove right into the input shaft. So I'm going to have to find somebody local to do that. But she's pretty much done now. I'm going to try to fire it up the next couple weeks, but basically now it's going over all the little stuff, and I got to wire the gauges. And I got to re-terminate these coils, different coil plugs on this harness than what the coils are. So other than that, but she's ready to fire up.